Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody that's come to our 25th AMA. This is unbelievable. We were just talking about this this morning, just how we've been doing this now for 2 years. And first of all, we'd like to thank those who've been with us the whole time. But to kind of understand that we've been doing these AMAs for 2 years now. We've been building the project for about 3.5, and just get more and more excited as we get closer and closer to the finish line. But welcome to the Kula DAO AMA. We are the founders of Kula. And basically, Kula looks to bridge the gap between real world and crypto, bring transparency to investors, and benefit communities all over the world. We are an impact investment vehicle looking to raise funds to buy equity into natural resources, into real world assets, and basically anything with intrinsic value. As we buy into those assets, then our equity goes into our treasury, and the treasury backs the value of our token. We implement the blockchain all over the world to bring transparency to investors, but then on the back end of that, we benefit communities that are impacted by these natural resources, such as limestone mines, gold mines, water resources, even agricultural farms. And we profit share with those communities, and we give them a voice by sharing governance with them. While we are a real world asset project, an RWA project, we're more about tokenizing governance than we are tokenizing the fractionalized ownership of these assets. So it's really that the powerful part of Kula is the philanthropic side of things, benefiting the communities, the transparency, but it's really that tokenizing governance, giving a voice to people that have never had a voice before. So with that being said, we have white papers. We have a white paper. We have that animated video that you saw at the beginning that also kind of makes our white paper a little bit more digestible, and other resources, YouTube, social medias that please follow them all, as our community is growing quickly thanks to our incredible marketing team. But our community is growing quickly as we get closer and closer to launch. So I am Micah Yakeley. I am one of the founders of Kula. And really, for the last few months, as you all know, our regulatory authority has been kind of delaying us a little bit and doing things on their timeline as opposed to ours. And really, what that comes down to is, for us, we have to continue to fundraise to keep the lights on, keep paying operational expenses, marketing. We've got projects ongoing that need capitalization, really legal fees, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on and on. And so my role in all of this has really been meeting with investors along with my investor relations team. We meet personally with investors over Zoom, whatever it may be, on the golf course, one of my favorite ways, to just to spread the word about Kula. And we're really at a point where the more time I get with investors, they see how close we are, what we've built, and they get excited about it. We're getting people to jump on board. August has always been our roughest month. In the 3.5 years that we've done this project, August, it just seems worldwide it's quiet. People are on holiday, investors are maybe tied up with cash, whatever it may be, but August has always been the hardest month. We've made it through August, and now we are rolling. So we're believing that September is going to be a great month, and I've got a lot of investor meetings lined up. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Chris. While we share our updates as founders, we've got a Q&A spot inside this Zoom call that you can start posting your questions right now. If you've got questions been burning all month, please go ahead and type those in the Q&A spot, and we'll answer those as we get to that time in this AMA. So Chris.
Thanks, Micah. Yeah, no, it's great to be with you guys again. Here we are, another month, and as Mike said, 2 years in, which is great. Just want to reinforce that this is your time, so we want to answer any question that you have, and usually those questions are good for everybody, right, in terms of just the repetition and getting to understand what's going on with the project. So please feel free to post them. So Usually we get to the end of our inputs and it's kind of quiet while we're waiting for someone to post a question. So please get ahead of the curve and jump in straight away. That would be great. Yeah, my updates are quite slim this month. There's doesn't mean there's not a lot going on, but there's not much more to update. And as Micah said, we've been waiting on our regulator for a long time now, and they're extremely pressured with, we've heard over 400 or 500 applications, and so we are in that process, and we are in the chain of events. And I'll be out next week in Dubai, and with our chief compliance and risk officer, who we recruited in the beginning of July. He is called Paul Jackson and has helped us tremendously actually on the application process before that in a consultative capacity. And through the process, we just thought there's such a good chemistry and connection here, and he's clearly committed to what we're trying to do and wants to be part of it. And we made the offer and thrilled that he joined our team in that role. And with that, we've not just got someone to do that job. We've got someone with the experience of Dubai, the experience of corporate world there, and really helpful in that aspect in terms of helping us prepare and get ready for when the launch comes. So that's just been tremendously helpful and really good for the project. Also last week, or just before last week, we put in the application for our second license, which has been a lot of that work that Paul and I have been doing together with the wider team as well. I think all in all, it's about 8, 9, 10 people have been working on this application, and it was about 500-600 pages of copy that went in for that application. That allows us to, our first application, which went in the spring, allows us to launch the primary token. The second application is about issuing tokens for our regional projects and also for white labeled projects, which Sam will talk about in a moment. And so it's kind of just that kind of process of being able to kind of grow a larger ecosystem of regulated tokens, which allows us to build out our business model. And so that's been really exciting to have got that done. Again, just a lot of hard work to get that over the line, and we're thrilled about that. So yeah, we'll be heading out and be on the ground next week and together all out there in Dubai, and we'll see what comes of that time. And just and really hoping for the just the connections and the space to be able to move things forward with the regulators there. Also, just there's a lot of other pieces from auditors, insurance, banking, and just the general networking in that space that we'll be following up on as well. So there's a lot of good stuff going on in that space as we kind of get the foundations ready for the launch that's coming soon. So I'm going to pass over to Sam for your update.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Right. So as we're getting ready for our own token launch, we realized like all the components to kind of warrant a successful token launch, all these components are ready to go. The smart contract already been audited many months ago. We have the marketing team. We have compliance side down, I would say. Like, we know the framework clearly. We know the global landscape of jurisdiction. So we thought, while we're waiting, why don't we help with some of these projects, which might or might not be part of our ecosystem in terms of RegionalDAO, but they're still looking for help in terms of token design, or how to raise money, how to reach community, how to build up the community before you even get to reach out to these people. What does it look like to be part of maybe more of a global blockchain impact investment ecosystem? So we thought like we could take this opportunity to help them. So that's the white labeling part that Chris just mentioned. We opened up that service, and very recently, over a week time, we got about 10, 11 potential projects coming to us. So we're very honored to see that. They are a variety of projects. Once we start kind of letting the community know and hosting them, you'll find them like, wow, we have a reach in different verticals, different complexity, different depth in terms of community building to just like a fundraising arm of things. So we'll see. I think there are going to be a lot of exciting things coming to our ecosystem. There are projects that you'll realize perhaps we help them to design the token to do the fundraising right now, and but later they can be part of our ecosystem. So that could be one way to identify the appropriate regional DAOs as well. So that's my update on the white labeling. A lot of things are happening there. You'll see a lot more coming your way. So I guess back to Micah.
Yeah. Like I said, August is always a quiet month, and so it is a shorter update. But we're really looking forward to August and November timeframe because we see the finish line right there. So we're believing that September is going to come with some good information, hopefully good reports. We're sending Chris to Dubai, like he said, and looking forward to seeing what that generates. But we do have a couple questions in, so we're going to transition now from the updates into kind of our Q&A time. The first one says, do you have any idea yet where the tokens will be available for purchase, and how many total will be available? Thanks for all your great work, guys. It's been fun to follow. Yeah, we have, let's see, we haven't announced our exchanges yet. We've got a few yeses, but we need to finalize contracts as soon as we actually have our licenses. And so we can't announce exactly where those are going to be. But when our final approval comes in, we will finalize the details with exchanges, and then we'll announce them to our community. They will be centralized exchanges only. So we are not listing our token on any DEXs whatsoever, no decentralized exchanges. They will be centralized exchanges only. And we'll announce those through social media. Also, the exchanges will be marketing our token as well when it gets closer to launch. And our circulation supply is only going to be 10 billion. So, and then with that being said, we're only going to launch a portion of those on our first launch day. So not all 10 billion will be available on launch day. So, and that's to prevent, just a real quick description as to why we're doing that. That's to prevent whaling. It's kind of a security measure so that there are not institutions or even countries that can buy up the majority stake of Kula. So that's why we're doing that. But we're going to release about a third of our tokens, a little less than that, on launch day. Let's see. The second question, and Sam, I can let you answer this one. Are white label projects also RWA related, real world asset related?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can take this one. We don't have specific criteria in terms of what the projects represent for white labeling service, but we do have criteria in terms of alignment of value with Kula. One is, obviously we have spent a lot of energy building up this value system, and we believe this is how we can be successful in the future, to build upon that strong set of values. So we don't want to, take on any project coming our door, even though they pay us quite a bit of money for doing so, if they don't align with our value system. In terms of the verticals, we don't have specific requirements, but because of the network that we have, many of them are real world asset related. Some of which might be a little bit more traditional than we have been encountering, like real estate, for example. But it's stuff that with impact side of things within the project build. There are things that are just inspirational as well to help people in many different ways, including fragrance, for example. So there are things that we're doing that will line up with value and still be exciting to the community.
And a fun aspect of this process is one conversation that started out looking like it would be a white label opportunity is after a couple of conversations looking more and more like it's going to be a great fit for the Kula ecosystem. And so that project, no details, of course, but it's actually located in North America, and a very stable real world asset that investors get excited about. So something like that, where it starts off as a white label conversation, and as we get together and brainstorm, answer questions, it more and more looks like a great fit for the Kula ecosystem. And so again, these conversations really offer a lot of opportunity to kind of either expand our model or to define it even more. And so that's what it's been fun from my side of this. Chris and Sam have been doing the majority of the legwork on the white labeling, but from my view of it, it's been really interesting to see Kula become more and more defined on what exactly does it mean to be a regional DAO. What are the criteria for it to fit inside of our ecosystem? So we can still help projects that don't fit, but then obviously get very excited when incredible projects come along that could really bolster our ecosystem and bolster our treasury. Wow, cool. 18 minutes in and we've answered all the questions.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's indicative of August. Well, we'll let it go for just a little while longer here to see. You know, we understand it's hard to come up with questions when there's not much to announce or to update you all on. So quick updates usually mean quick Q&A sessions. So there's always, oh, we just get, what's on your wish list for the rest of the year? Oh, that's a great question. And we probably all three have different answers to that. Well, maybe not. We have one answer in common. I think, I mean, a final word back from our regulatory authority is big on my wish list. We need to put boots on the ground in Dubai, which we're going to do, in Nepal, and in Malaysia. That has to happen this fall. Really, my wish list probably is very much focused on Nepal. Kula, when we built this project, we had these big dreams of onboarding 1 or 2 assets before we launched. And we've had the opportunity to educate governments, to sit before ministers, ambassadors, prime ministers, and help them literally shape their legislature, change their laws, and educate them the difference between crypto and blockchain and the benefits that blockchain can provide to a nation as a whole. So we've been able to give now multiple government workshops and educating governments, not just what Kula can do, but what blockchain can do, and offer blockchain solutions, even if it's outside of our specialty. But you know, Nepal has just I've fallen in love with this country. I've been there a few times now, and the new government that's just taken over, we've got deep connections with, probably more so than the first government, and I'm really excited to get back out there and really continue those conversations. So my wish list is to tack on more regional DAOs inside of Nepal, but there was always a secret wish list with me of like, we need something in North America. You know, we're always talking about these high risk, underdeveloped countries that we can benefit, and we can, and we're going to, but it's always nice to get those just rock solid investments to fill the portfolio with. And so that's really exciting to me to have the North America opportunity. Anybody else want to take that?
No, sure. I was going to say, do you want us to answer the question? I think for me, it's about strong foundations, right? So it sounds so dull and boring in one sense, but those fundamentals that we are actually working really hard on. But we've built the project, we've built the fundamentals for sure. But between now and launch, there's this window of time which we're really utilizing to make sure those foundations are really strong and scalable. And the reality of the project and its longevity is going to be on how well we actually get the foundations super secure and super compliant. And we're working on that at the moment. And I think, just going through the process this last few months, whilst it's been on one level infuriating and then another completely exhausting, it's also been fantastic for us, because I feel like we've gone from a project to being ready to be a regulated corporate entity, and that can actually handle the stress and the strain of that responsibility, and actually be contributing to a market and an industry that has got so many bad actors and so much of a questionable reputation, that we're constantly fighting upstream against all of that. So I think positioning ourselves to that is really has been an important process, but I'm looking forward to that work being completed and getting to the point where not only can we launch, but we know we can launch and sustain what we've built, and I think we're well on track for that. And I think as well, it always comes down to what's been the heart of this project, right? And it is actually seeing capital investment into communities where they get a share of the equity and they get full participatory engagement opportunities that otherwise just doesn't happen. And I think we've got a good start with Zambia, Nepal now, and Malaysia coming online, alongside all the white label opportunities. But there's so much more to come, and I think starting to see some of those projects bring back returns to the ecosystem for the investors that we are pitching this to is going to be really great. And I'm looking forward to that moment when we're completing the circle and the loop and seeing that financial flow that we've envisioned and worked really hard for this last 3 years. So I think, seeing some of that before Christmas would be absolutely fantastic, in terms of moving things forward. And at the end of the day, it's about creating that opportunity for everybody, for our investors and for the people that we're investing with, and seeing some of those impacts and outcomes we're going to be really exciting to see before the end of the year. That's my response.
Sam, you're welcome to answer if you've got other goals.
I was reading the questions, but I think be able to help multiple projects, therefore people. I think that's I think that we aim to do for Kula when we started, and now with the white labeling, I think we get to grow that frontier even more. So that's something I'm really excited about, and be able to see how blockchain is used in multiple sectors is quite interesting. And seeing the market evolving and maturing, I think it's kind of cool. And just hoping that we can play a big part of that. So that would be a couple of things that's pretty rewarding, I think, at the end of the year. It might not happen at the end of this year. I think by 2025, I think we'll have an even bigger footprint. I can try to answer the next question. They're about other players / projects in the RWA
looks like there's
space.
2 of the same questions.
Yeah.
2 people asked the same question. So one coming from X and one member here. Yeah, go ahead, take it, Sam.
Yeah. So how we're different. So besides the impact investment side of things, value alignment, deep governance, that Kula stands for, I think let's talk a little bit just on the RWA side of things. So when RWA started, it was really about off-chain asset, and how do we link that? How does it, industry-wise, link it to something on the blockchain? And the lower hanging fruit are tokenized securities, right? Like stocks, tokenized bonds, and real estate. Even though there are challenges in each and every one of those sectors, but the legal framework was pretty clear. Valuation was clear. even like for commodities, the spot price and futures market and all that, it's clearly defined. We know who the exchanges are. So we basically have data pipeline built and be able to tokenize, just basically reflect those data on chain and provide a way for people to buy into those, therefore increasing the access to the market. So going from whatever the stock market opening hours are around the globe to a truly 24/7 market. And then be able to, the hope was to provide liquidity. You're thinking like if we fractionalize all the ownership to the stuff, then more people will participate, therefore provide more liquidity. For Kula, we realized the assets, by the time you get to the spot market, the upside is really no longer available to the early investors. You have already reached the spot market, right? So what we're hoping for then is just market increase since from that point on. But if you have access to underground asset, doesn't have to be like in real things like gold or whatever, but it could be like water, right? Underground water. Or like, timber, right? Trees is not cut down or something like that. The upside is maintained, and you can shrink the time to like pay out the early investors by a few years. So why don't we have a focus on that area? Well, once we understand how we do that, we can still help the projects with like a little bit more traditional in terms of RWA space. So we are I really think we're the first one to tokenize underground water. We're in the middle of doing that, so it'll be done fairly quickly once all the numbers and all that stuff aspects are put in. It'll be a really like a huge, I think, milestone for the industry, because imagine one underground water asset is being tokenized. That means similar types of assets can be tokenized. Once the workflow is built, then Kula will be leading the industry in that regard. So that's really, really exciting for all of us. And then on top of that, with the fact that we are utilizing the DAO structure to what's govern, I was going to say control, but to govern that type of asset by placing the tokenized asset on the books and have people, have that deep governance around it, makes it a whole lot more sustainable for the future, just because there are participatory rights over it. So that's to me, that's like the biggest differences that we have as Kula from other projects. But Mike or Chris, feel free to jump in. I might have forgotten things.
That's great. We're good. Should I say this next one here on?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so question here is, can governments or sub-governments become entire regional DAOs through Kula's initiative using blockchain technology? The answer is yes. So, I mean, last year we were privileged to be able to present this opportunity and opportunities to different departments in the Zambian government, and had extensive conversations actually over the next couple of days with the Science and Technology Ministry on how we could essentially take entire asset bases into our ecosystem. It's interesting, right? Because on the one hand, whilst that solves a certain number of problems, it also creates other problems as well at a national level, where not necessarily people want that full level of transparency, because there's a lot of good stuff that's going on when things aren't transparent for certain players. And that's what our ecosystem's attempting to do in terms of aligning interests across those stakeholders. Through the transparency and the trust that's created in the smart contracts, is something that's, the upside, but it also comes with potential downsides for some of those stakeholders. But nevertheless, it can, and we can operate that at national, regional, city level, depending on what the different assets or approaches, or as Mike said, anything with intrinsic value, and where those stakeholders want to align around those smart contracts and the opportunities that can create. So we can operate at those different levels. And yeah, we've got, again, like as well, Mike talking about the opportunities that are there in Nepal. which he can speak to a little bit more directly if he wants to. But again, really interesting project designs that are on the table, right through to looking at national level currencies and blockchain opportunities. So we've got, again, I think one of the great things about our project is that there's unlimited potential of where it can go and what we can do. And we've been building, again, those foundations to be able to scale to these levels, so that when the time comes, we've got the agility and the ability to kind of go that a little bit further. So yeah, we're looking forward to an interesting few years here as we keep building this project out.
Excellent. There's a follow-up from the previous question. How do you maintain physical security of the real world asset and avoid bad actors from seizing or stealing it from the original people who bought it or own it?
I mean, I can jump in again. I think it's really interesting. You know, with the places that we work, and we run full risk analyses on the investments we're making into the projects that we make. But you know, our risk profile and our risk appetite is higher than most companies by virtue of where we work, which is again why Mike is saying, you know, one of his wish lists is actually having a number of businesses in jurisdictions like North America, where there's a lot more stability and dependability around the long-term security on those assets, because there's a different type of business ecosystem that sits around them. And we are choosing to make investments in developing contexts simply because that's where the heart of our project started, in solving for a problem that allows, you know, where local communities do get displaced and don't get a say and do lose value, and that being the very heart of the impact model that we've created. And people say, well, yeah, but there's a risk of that with utilizing blockchain. But the other argument on the other side of the equation is actually in a normal private equity process, those risks are equally as apparent. So I'm not necessarily addressing the question of how do we maintain physical security of the real world assets, rather than making a counter argument. Well, that's the equivalent in whichever investment pathway we choose. The utilization of investing into projects utilizing blockchain doesn't make it any more or less risky than a normal way. But again, we run fairly robust risk profiling on the projects we do invest into, and again, working extensively with the national level governmental systems, building that kind of institutional and governmental cover for the projects that we're engaging in is really, really important. But also equally is working from the ground up with the local authority and the various different power brokers that at that level, and aligning all of the different stakeholders across that spectrum. So an example would be, yeah, we've spent time working with the Zambian government and presenting opportunities at that level, but also, you know, we've been working with our local partners there and their relationships with the local chiefdoms to make sure that those different things are in place, so that we can operate and we can engage and we can invest safely. And so it's quite an interesting process, really. In these, and every jurisdiction is different, so we're having to tailor our approach for each regional DAO on the investment pathway side, in order to be able to meet those requirements and securing those assets and the investment that we're making. And there's more that could be said about that, and we are actually in the process of opening up a security guild. Mike, if you want to just talk a little bit about that and more of the securitization of these things.
Yeah. So as a part of the DAO, we're having different guilds that specialize in different, basically that solve problems that Kula is going to face. And one of those is being set up from the ground up. Everything we do in Kula is essentially being started from scratch. But we're starting a security guild, and we have a gentleman who is the director of security, and he is working really hard. Essentially, any country we go into, there's going to be risk assessments done on that country. What do we need when we go? Do we need security details? Are we going to be working with physical gold? Are we going to be working, you know, you go to Nepal into a hydroelectric situation, the physical security is going to be a lot less than if we're trying to transport gold for testing in Kenya or any other country that we've been in. So really, that security guild is going to be in charge of the big risk assessments, geopolitical risk, physical risk, physical security, and even on the technical side, on the secure. So this guild is going to be kind of looking at security from all different aspects, and we're going to be build it as we go, and they're going to be in charge of protecting us physically as we travel, but then also looking at all of our options to protect the assets. Now, again, to kind of piggyback on what Chris was saying, we partner with local companies. And so like our limestone mine in Zambia, a lot of the risk of protecting the limestone, because we're not necessarily taking custody of any of their limestone. So a lot of that risk they carry. They protect their limestone in transporting it for sales, transporting it, or even just storing it on the site. So some of that physical security over the asset itself rests on the local partner's shoulders. We will subsidize that. We will help that anytime we need. But because Kula's job isn't there to necessarily, at least it's not yet, to transport these physical assets or to store these physical assets, we have different security focuses than more of the security focus on the asset itself. Okay. Oh, great. That we got a lot more questions than I first thought. So thank you, everybody. This will go ahead and conclude our September AMA, our 25th official, more than 2 years of doing AMAs. So thanks everybody for attending. And truly, we are looking forward to October AMA, because we're believing that there's going to be some very valuable updates coming very soon. So thank you, and look forward. Again, reach out to us if you've got more questions on X, on social medias, and we'll be happy to answer them there if they come to you. But otherwise, we'll see you next month in October.
Bye. Bye.